Okay, I'm standing here with my man in the gym today. He's just looked at the book, Fathers and Mentors. He read the summary. He's going to talk a little bit about it. Hey, buddy, what's your name, sir?
Jeff Cassidy.
Okay, Jeff, how old are you?
I'm 75.
75 years young. Okay. Can you tell us the book, Fathers and Mentors? What do you think? What did you read?
I think, we're in the 21st century, and I think, we've all become technology, we've all become giant mountains of information, dust bunnies and wisdom.
Yeah.
I think that with just when I looked at this book, I grew up with 5 brothers. I grew up in a military family, which there was no real mentoring in the sense like what this should be.
Yes.
It was my dad's way or no way.
Right.
And we sent to schools that were corporal punishment, so there was nobody sitting and saying, hey, you did this wrong. It was always corporal punishment. So, when I looked at the book, and it's definitely the brevity of the book, the shortness, and I was looking at questions what they hear. It's definitely a book that should be out there for anybody, whether you're a single father, you're a mother being a father being a mother and a father. I think that, kids nowadays they don't have any direction. Like I just said, that we're dust bunnies in wisdom. Everybody is telling you, read, do things, but nobody's helping you to do anymore, on that.
Well, let me ask you now, how old are you?
75.
75 years old. And your first name again?
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey. So you said you have 5 brothers.
5 altogether.
5 altogether. So Jeffrey, what impact did mentors make in your life?
Well, see, this is what I'm going to say. You became the mentor. It mentions in the book in the day that when you turned 18, you had 3 choices. It says here right in the book. You either went in the military, you went to college, or military went to college, or you got a job.
Yep, check it out.
In our generation, if you chose, you had to figure out a way to pay for that. If you got a job and you stayed with my dad, you were going to pay like living in a rent.
Absolutely.
College, the same thing. If you went in the military, the same thing. On that. But I think that again, going to the just kind of glancing. I've got a lot of thoughts running through the head.
Sure,
on this.
I understand.
But there is fathers have not, because of being busy, COVID. They're not mentors anymore. You're a father, and there are a lot of great fathers that are just not good mentors.
True.
I mean, and Shakespeare said, it's the attempt and not the deed that confounds us, which that just means that they'd like too busy, too this. They're allowing people in the gym, school teachers, are allowing somebody else to be their mentor.
Yes.
In my day, you learn by, this old thing, that mistakes. If you make, the only way you get experience is
by learning and making mistakes.
But and that's okay if you don't make a bad mistake. I had raised 2 daughters. They weren't mine, but I raised them, and I told them that, you got no mistakes. You got to talk. You need somebody. And the other thing, in my generation, fathers really didn't sit down and talk. They were too damn busy. My dad had 2 jobs.
Wow.
On that, raising 5 kids. He went to graduate school at nights.
Okay.
I mean,
so he was busy.
Yeah, he was a busy man, and it's funny. For me personally, I changed my name from what it was. Nothing big, just some end of letter.
Sure.
Because my dad, he never would talk to us. He would say, "This is it." And if you took a beating for something, sometimes he didn't ask me why. He just said, "You're going to get a beating."
Gotcha.
So something like this, where you have somebody that sits down, you have questions.
Yes.
How do we educate? I'm just looking. I've only looked through the back parts of it,
right.
So I can't.
But you got a lot of principles.
I understand what it's saying.
Yes, we put
honor, as I
principles
told
in
you
there.
earlier, honor your father and your mother. It's the first commandment with a promise. So in Ephesians, so that all will be well and you will live long.
Gotcha.
Honor your father and mother.
Well, Jeff, let me ask you this last question, because you've given us a lot of wisdom. What would the 23-year-old Jeff, what would the 75-year-old Jeff say to the 23-year-old Jeff today?
I would say, don't be afraid. I would say, In my day, there was 60s, so drugs, there were a lot, it was a wild world. It's not like now where you know everything. In our day, you did things. By the grace of God, I'm sitting here talking. I overdosed a couple of times, tried suicide a couple of times, and I had nobody. You know, my dad, we weren't talking in that sense, because that generation, you grew long hair, you didn't come into his house.
Sure.
Seems kind of silly now, but
Right.
that's what they did. And I would tell him basically that don't be afraid. You know, don't be afraid. Don't wait for your boat to come in, swim at it. See, go for it. And I
right.
too many times, the 23-year-old Jeffrey would look and see the boat, and then he would walk away.
Ooh.
He didn't wait at the dock.
Wow.
So
wow.
I took a kind of a crazy way, and by the grace, you know, I ended up being taking care of my dad. I'm so glad God put me in that position.
Yes.
Because, and long ago, forgive him, you know, as far as how he treated.
Ooh, yes.
He was raised in an orphanage.
Mm.
So and that orphanages were the horrible ones, you know, beatings and all that. He did the same thing. So
Yes, yes.
He was a great man. You know, I wish that he was 103 when he died, just about. So,
Wow, okay.
So he was a great guy on that. But that 23-year-old, I would say, don't be afraid. You know, go for it. You have to go for it, and not to be afraid to talk to people. So I even see this in the pandemic. These kids don't have anybody really. They all play on these toys you're looking at, but
Yes.
they don't have this. And I used to
Face to
teach the
face.
kids, you got to look at somebody's face. Whether you're a girl, you can tell. I told the girls, you can look at a man's face and tell a lot.
Yes.
Do not look down, look
Yes,
this way.
yes.
And, you know, his old thing, an old proverb that says, trust God, but tie the camel up.
Okay.
And that's this means be careful. Definitely
All right.
be careful.
That's true. Hey, Jeff, thank you so much. Jeff, we appreciate you. And thanks for sharing your wisdom at 75 years old.
Wisdom, I'm still learning, my friend. Every day I study, I practice, I have my prayer sessions.
Wow.
I wish I had the 23-year-old Jeff was doing what he does every day, praying
Okay.
to God.
Okay.
I was godless.
All right. Thank you, man. Have a good day.
All right, sir.